Doing this, speaking in front of a camera directly to the lens, is a great way to get those algorithms working on social media. For some reason, people like it or the system likes it, and so we're all recommended and told to do this. But the challenge is a lot of us aren't actually that comfortable. About 10 years ago, I was doing a course called Presenters Platform, which was wonderful, where we practiced and saw each other in front of the camera again and again and again. When I first saw myself in front of the camera, oh my goodness, it was disgusting. I just had this locked jaw and I was feeling really, really self-conscious. There were people on this course that cried. There's something that the camera does and it brings us into this feeling of self-consciousness, and so many of us just don't do it. Thankfully, repetition paid off, and I ended up spending a lot of time in front of camera. In fact, I spent about 4 years being a regular media commentator on some of the breakfast shows, and I got so used to it. Well, a couple of years ago, everything changed. Prior to that, I started twitching my eye. I didn't really know what was going on. It just started twitching and twitching and twitching. Fast forward, I got diagnosed with something called hemifacial spasm, which means that there's an artery at the back of my neck which is wrapped around my facial nerve, and it was actually causing me to spasm. There's nothing you can do about this as far as if you don't get surgery, then it just gets worse and worse. And so I made the decision a couple of years ago to get something called microvascular decompression surgery. It was 6 hours long. I woke up feeling like crap, probably from having had so much anesthetic. But then I went on, I think about day 3, to rinse my mouth. I could finally get to the bathroom and clean my teeth, and the whole mouthwash just fell out of my face. And that's when I realized that I had something called facial palsy, which does happen. It's one of the challenges and the risks of the surgery. One of the other ones is losing your taste. I think I'd prefer this to having lost my taste, but that's another story. And so in most instances it heals itself after a couple of weeks, but for me it didn't. And for that later part of 2020, my whole left side of my face was paralyzed. I couldn't shut my eyes, I had problems eating, I was slurring, but I obviously looked really completely asymmetrical because this one moved and this one didn't. The challenge was that I am a presenter and a coach by nature, and so it was really confronting for me to be in front of people. And thankfully I was working with a wonderful client at the time where I had some regular work, and they did not judge me at all, but it felt pretty confronting. Fast forward, and what's happened since is that I have got some movement back in my eyes. I think the Brackman score I was a 6 and now I'm a 3 or a 2, so there's definitely been some movement, but this is as good as it gets. I haven't been on camera since before the surgery, and so last week I decided to post something and I was actually quite surprised. And then I thought, you know what, this is who I am, and it's got me really thinking about society's obsession with symmetry, obsession with being normal. There was a little girl called Lena, I think her name was, and she had a Batman scar, so she had this scar like this, so she looked like she had black goggles on. And she's kind of popped up quite a lot on social media, and now everyone's going, yay, yay, how exciting, she's had this scar removed. Well, just imagine a world where her scar is celebrated because she's unique and different. Why is it that the news presenters, the celebrities, everyone on TV still looks a certain way? We've come quite a long way in the likes of race and gender, diversity, sexual orientation, but what about the people who just look different to us? And I think that a lot of this comes from our background, where we have looked at monsters and fairy tales and then the pretty princesses who are all symmetrical. I'm calling out on this. I'm saying let's bloody celebrate our bumps, our humps, our lumps, our limps, anything which is slightly different. What the hell is actually considered normal? You know a word that I can't stand? The word is disfigurement. I mean, listen to it. It sounds like shit. So here's to celebrating disfigurement. Here's to you seeing more of me wearing my weird old face and being okay about it. Because isn't it time that we just stopped living in a past where normality is something to be put on its pedestal? Let's knock it off.